So this is my first time making a video for YouTube, or video in general. I'm using my cell phone doing it, but I'm removing the ball joints of a Volkswagen bus. And I haven't seen very many videos on YouTube, and the ones that I did see, it looked very difficult and complicated. So I will show you my way, and then you can decide how you would like to do it. So I'm pulling this down off the old ball joints, and I'm going to put my camera on pause while I pull that off the old ball joints, and then once I do that, I'll start it back up. So that actually took about 1.5 turns to get that pulled down. It just popped right off. Now, I wanted to point out there's this race on the old ball joint that needs to come out. And with your new ball joint, you might think it's not the same one, but that needs to be pulled off, and then it goes back into the top of this, and the other ball joint gets pushed in, and that's for aligning your wheel. So don't throw that ball joint away with that part on it. You're going to need it. I'm going to pause and get things set up, and then I'll show you the setup that I use for it. This is the new ball joint. I wanted to show you if you can see how it's got these grooves in both sides. Now, the older ones also have the grooves in them. Kind of in the light, sorry. But those grooves line up with this bump and the bump on the other side. I don't know if you can see it. I'll see if I can get a light. See, there's two bumps on the arms. So those grooves literally have to line up with that. Oh, Lord. But that's the way that it needs to come out, and that's the way it needs to go back in. So by the way, I got that clamp at Home Depot. I don't know what I paid for it. It wasn't too expensive. And I got this ball joint clamp for removing and putting back in. I got this at Pep Boys. That's something that you pay for it, and then when you give it back, they give you back your money. So this thing has been great. It worked out really well for me. So I'll set this up, and I'll let you see how easy it really is to remove these. So this is back on. I wanted to show you, I used this clamp to clamp in these two grooves. It bites right in these two grooves, and it's up tight against the arm. I shouldn't keep on twisting my camera. I'm a novice at this at best. So I put that on. Then this cup will go on to there. This cup will go on there also. And the reason why that is because if you look at, we'll just say the new ball joint, when you put on this cup, the only thing it can hit is the ball joint. So when you're tightening the clamp, all you're doing is crushing the ball joint. You're not pulling it away. So now with this clamp, if I can get to it, there's actually a spacer right here, because this is your arm, this is that little metal part of the ball joint and you're inside that groove, now there's a spacer right here. So once you slide that cup up, it's actually, when you're tightening this cup, it's pressing against here and that's pressing against here, and that allows you to pull this ball joint down. I'm going to stop it for a second and set it up the rest of the way, and I'll get back to you. So this is the setup. I have the ball joint clamp here. I have it on top of the ball joint. I have that in the grooves, and if you look very, very closely, you can see that ring from the ball joint tool is just resting on both edges of that, and that allows this part to pull down to here. Once you get it down to there, you can just tap it out very lightly with a hammer. So I'm gonna put a little bit of pressure on it, and then I'll show you what happens. Now I have some pressure on this, and what I do, because it's in there, it's sealed in there pretty good, whether there's a little bit of rust or whatever, I take this chisel and just tap this down, and that breaks, that's right above that ball joint ring, and that breaks the seal. And once that breaks the seal, I wish I could do it while I'm filming, but I'm sorry I don't have that option, so I'm gonna pause it here, tap that, and then I'll show you. Okay, so now you can see, hopefully, the gap in between there, and it's allowing this plate to go down to here. This plate will slide down all the way from here down to this cup, the thickness of this clamp. I bought this clamp at Home Depot also. But so I'll continue tightening this, and it'll be much easier to take down now because the rust seal is broke. So I'm going to do that, and then I'll show you just the end part of it. So I guess I should show you, I actually put a pipe on the end of this ratchet over here just for more leverage, and there, as you can see, the ring of the ball joint is all the way tight against this cup. Now what happens now is that you need to take this clamp off, this clamp, the ball joint clamp, and also this doesn't have to be real tight, this clamp. It's just snug enough that it doesn't fall off, this clamp right here, when you first put it on. If you put it on too tight, you're fighting against the clamp holding the ball joint also. So I'll stop this and then take all this apart, and sorry for the crazy angles and everything else like that. Maybe my next video will be a little better, or I can have somebody hold the camera while I'm doing something, and you'll be able to visualize the whole thing. So there's the ball joint. You can see that, well, it's kind of blurry, but you can see that it's popped down. I have all the clamps off and everything. And the spacing, this is a larger one of these clamps, by the way. They sell a 3-inch. This is a 6-inch one. I don't know, I can It's about the size of my hand, almost. A little smaller, but they have some that are half this size. You want the larger one because you want that space that's in between the arm and the ball joint flange. So basically, you're right there, and now well, it's odd. I highly recommend you putting some penetrating oil on these before you take it out. Now this one I didn't. I don't know why, but you can see that I sprayed it on the very end and it didn't even have time to soak in. So I would spray it the night before. There's the arm. I got one more to do. As far as how long it took me, that's kind of a hard one to say. Maybe at best an hour, but I think that maybe a lot of this stuff was getting everything organized. As far as taking it out, I'd say 15 minutes tops. All right, well, maybe I'll do the upper one also and post that, and I'll have somebody film it. It might be a little bit better quality. Anyhow, well, good luck. If you have any questions, I'll see if I can look at it and respond to any of your questions.